Hello there, it's me, Sari here again, and today I'm here to play a little bit with the liquid pearls. Liquid pearls are an acrylic paint with a metallic shimmer to them. They come in these really handy small bottles and you can use them to many different kinds of techniques. And I'm sure you could use them, you could use those techniques with other acrylic paints as well, but I'm just going to focus on these today. And the reason for me coming to think about purchasing and starting to use liquid pearls is this layout. Because when I did the droplet effect, I did use some acrylic paints and such just to make it work, and I just started thinking that perhaps it could be a good idea to invest in quite a few bottles, so I could be set if I'm going to go to a craft event or something. Instead of bringing big jars and everything, I could just take these and I could have lots of colors in just a small amount of space, because space is a limited issue when you're going to craft events, because perhaps you have half a table or perhaps even a complete table, but with all of the inks and stamps and papers and everything, you're just going to be cluttered up on your crafting surface. So that's basically why I wanted to go for these. So I've started trying these out, and I'm hoping I'll be able to present a couple of ideas for you in just one video. So first off, many people use these liquid pearls, or perhaps even pearl maker pens and such, in order to make half pearls. You could make these of your own if you wanted to, of course, and in this case I've compared these two actually. Let's see if I can take the proper colors. I think it was pewter, and I just compared these two. By accident I flattened this one because there's a difference between these two colors. I believe that the liquid pearls are a little bit more thick, they are not as fluid as the pearl pen is, and that may, I mean, when you're getting perhaps a top, perhaps you aren't getting a perfect rounded result as in the center row there, and I was trying to flatten that one out, and those really got flat, the first ones with the pearl pen. So I did another row and I didn't flatten anything out, and as you can see, they really do stay in a beautiful shape like that. So I'll just make it wet once more just for you to see. Let's see if I can succeed with that, but I think I'll just get something else out of the way in order to not destroy them anymore. I tried making a sort of a fake pearl into this metal charm or metal decoration, and I also did try to make it work. So in this case I actually used the pearl maker, and this is where I really found out that the color itself or the paint itself is really more liquid than the liquid pearl. So it's rather funny that they're called in liquid. These are called liquid pearls, well, whilst this is even more liquid, let's say. So, and in this case I try to make it work. Of course this is a bigger area or anything, and it's a thicker coat of paint, but I had a problem getting a nice end result because it's sort of pointy at parts. So I did go in with some sort of a tool here, and I just try to move it around in order to get it as smooth and flat as possible, whilst this one got flat on its own without any effort at all. So let's see if I can show that to you on a scrap piece of paper perhaps. I'm going to take those away so I don't make any mishaps. Let's see. So let's see if I'm going to make something with a pearl pen at first, and I do have a couple of colors here. Perhaps I could try another color just for some fun. I mean, this is a bigger bottle, of course. I mean, this one costs, let's say, 40 crowns, I mean 50 crowns, and this one is, could it be 25? So I mean, this is twice the price, but you'll get much more. This is 30 milliliters, and whilst this is 18 milliliters, so it's it does seem a little bit funny because I think that this one is bigger, but perhaps it isn't. So perhaps it isn't that much of a bigger deal when it comes to the pricing. Some people experience a lot of air bubbles in this, and that makes the paint itself squirt out and it doesn't make a nice result. So perhaps you need to shake that bottle down before you start working on it. And let's see if I can try to show it. I do like to work from the top. And while I'm at it, I actually might squeeze out a little more. And in this case, I'm getting a rather nice one. There is a little bit of a Hershey Kiss top there. If I flick it, it flattens out. So it's this is rather sensitive to the flicking method. But I'm thinking that it might actually, you can see, I mean, you could really stretch this if you wanted to and make it be really pointy, but that's really not what I'm after. So I could just go in back in there and make a small flat thick one, that one. You know, I'm not going to focus too much on the pearl maker pens, but I'm thinking that I might compare that one to the other one just to see if there's that much of a difference. Do a bit of shaky dance there and squeeze out quite a big blob, smaller and even smaller. I can see that there's a Hershey Kiss pointy top there as well, and I'm a little bit afraid of flicking because then those are going to be flicked down even more. So that's not what I'll be going for now. And then I'm going to go for the Perfect Pearls. And I did use the pewter colour before. Let's see where I'll end up now. And this one also does have those air bubbles, so you need to pay attention to what you're doing and how you're doing it. Let's see, I do have two of these bottles, so this one seems to be clogged up. Some of the bottles were actually clogged up before I got them. I mean, through the delivery or in the parcel. As you can see, that's where it squirts out the colour itself or the paint. So I'm just going to make use of that spot and just start squeezing into that. And I can make a smaller perhaps. And this one got really pointy as well. And there we have it. And they do flatten a little bit by themselves, but not completely. And there you can see them. And these do have quite a bit of a drying time, so you shouldn't be too much in a rush when you are making these. So I would definitely let them sit for a day or something, or perhaps at least a couple of hours, because I don't dare to touch them. But out of all of these, I'm just pleased with that one in the centre, because that one seemed to be rather perfect with its round shape. But experience, I'm sure, will make these better. So just practice and make them perfect, really. So that's a little bit about it, and I think that is the main reason people buy them. So you need to bear in mind that you do need to practice perhaps a little bit with them. But of course they could be nice to have in a centre of a flower perhaps, just to have the stamen thing going on there. And there's a thing, if you don't like this particular colour, let's say you were to have a sort of a light pearly colour, and you have some alcohol pens, perhaps Pro Markers or Spectrum Noir or something like that, you could actually change the colour by colouring it in with that alcohol based pen. So let's see, what else could I show you? Well, you could of course use the liquid pearls thingy to colour this one in. I mean, this one was white from the get-go, so I did actually dry brush some blue on top there. So it's nice to know that you can use this on many different kinds of surfaces, metal, paper, and even cardboard perhaps, and even fabric, I believe, and plastic, of course, since this is my palette. And I just thought that I'd come back today and reactivate these, but I couldn't, because when they are dry they are permanent. So if you're going to make the most use of your colors, do that on the same day, because otherwise they'll just be stuck there, just like nail polish, I suppose. And well, let's see what I could do. I have started working on some projects here. This is something that one could call a resist technique. And I thought that I would show that to you on 2 different kinds of paper. So I have prepared this, and I'll be showing you how I did that also. So let's see if I can get any sort of order here, because I think it feels like I'm flapping all over the place. So I'm just going to take a piece of paper. Well, I do have these 2 actually, so I can actually take them. And I'm going to have a different color now, because I don't want to use the same boring color all the time. So I'm going to go for a peacock color this time. And I'm just going to squeeze out a little bit of that there. I can actually go for a little bit more, but since I'm going to use it on two pieces of paper. And then I'm going to take a plastic bag like this, and I'm just going to put my hand in it. And I'm going to create sort of a pattern of some irregularities in there. So I have a stamp in my hand, so let's see. So I'm just going to do it on this one, which has some white gesso on it. And I'm just going to pounce it like that, just to create some sort of a background. And in this case I'm creating a resist effect, a resist technique. In this case I do believe that the drying time isn't that bad. I'm not thinking that it's going to be that long, but just for demonstrative purposes, I'm going to move on to the blue ones here. So this is where the gesso is, and this is where the regular paper is. And I'm just going to go for some brown distress ink. In this case it's gathered twigs. And I'm just going to do some blending in, like so, just to see what happens. If there's going to be any difference at all with the gesso or not. I'm going to make it a little bit stronger in the here, just to see the difference. I do feel like the gathered twigs isn't coming out in its proper color. It's a little bit lighter, I must say. I'm going to do the same thing with the regular piece of paper, and here I got lots of white, so I'm going to go for that side actually, just to see if there's going to be any difference in the hue. It doesn't seem to make that much of a difference. Like so. So that's where we are right now. And it does feel rather flat. Here I might feel, I mean it's the gesso I believe, that it's giving me some kind of a textured feel there. But on the other hand, I mean I can't feel any difference in the texture there. So let's see, I'm going to do a little bit of stamping, and I'm going to use the same stamp here, even though it's going to be on a bit too small a piece of paper, I think. So let's see, I'm just going to take a butterfly stamp with a fairly new ink pad from VersaFine. I'm just going to stamp over this, just to see where I'm at. And I might actually do the stamping on the paper with the gesso as well, just to see the difference. So you can see, you can actually stamp on top of that really easily. And you get a really nice sort of peel paint effect underneath. So that was what I really fell in love with when it comes to using that sort of, I don't know, resist technique when it comes to making that background. And as you can see, if you have gesso underneath, that is going to be textured. So you're not going to get a perfect stamping result. You might actually want to go for this method, so that's good to know that there's going to be a difference when you in the end result. But still, I do believe that it's a nice technique actually to have with you, so you can get that depth. If you would like to, of course, you could go in and color, or yeah, you could color actually with those Perfect Pearls colors. So let's see if I can just show it to you. And in this case, I'm thinking I'll be coloring on this one, just to have a flat surface. to work on. So let's see what could be nice to use together with these colors. I mean, I do have sort of a beige, brown, blue and black. Should I dare to go? I don't know, I'm not sure where I'm going to go actually with this one, but let's see. Let's see if I'm going to go for some, I think I'll just go for some robin's egg, a light blue color here. And I'm hoping I'll be able to use that for a later thing as well while I'm at it. So I'm just going to take a brush. This is too big for me. I'm not that good at coloring artist, so I think I'll just go for this water brush. And I'm just going to spray some water on top of this. So I'm going to dilute that a little bit. And I'm going to mix that in with some water. And now I'm going to have a sort of a liquidy color there. And I'm just going to color it in here and there. And of course, if you are a really good coloring artist, you know all about shading and everything. You should just take your time, relax and have some fun with this technique. But now I'm applying a rather thick layer there, just to have something happening. And of course this brush does leak out water because that's the purpose of that one. So it's going to be even more watery, this ink here, or this color, or paint color. And I'm just going to go for another place like that. So if you want to, you could of course color with these as well. So it's a nice thing to have with you, I think. And in this case I'm just going to swipe it off because I have some excess color here. Just get it off like that. So now I've come thus far and I could actually make use of that leftover ink or paint there. I'm just going to put that one aside and I'm going to take the other one instead, since this one is dry. And this is a really nice technique. I'm just going to take some acetate plastic, a film of plastic, and I'm going to pick up that ink or that color there and I'm going to transfer it to this. Now I'm not going to get that much of a result, but in the end, I mean, having dabbed this back and front a couple of times, I'm hoping I'll have some kind of a nice sort of soft pastel-y result. So this is a nice way to do some mixed media stamping, let's say. So if I'm going to go for a little bit more color, I could actually go for ruby red. And I believe that is something that I have used before. So I'm just going to dilute that one. And I'm thinking that I might actually use a brush here. I'm just going to go with different brushes. Just going to make it like that. And in this case, I'm just going to get it out there. And as you can see, you can really paint with it. And you can also get that to react even more with this technique. So just spray some water on top and do a little bit of background painting quickly. And then you could do some stamping with a text or something on top of this. So the thing is that if you have the paint undiluted, as it is really, it's going to be rather thick and it's going to stick to the paper quicker. If you have it diluted, it's going to spread more. And if you have even spread the paper before a little bit more, it's going to spread even easier. So that's something to bear in mind as well. So now I have some leftover paint there. And I'm going to use that stencil, and I'm hoping I'll be able to get, and as you can see, this is how much color there is. So you have a really nice way of actually knowing how much you are transferring. And if you feel like, oh, my goodness, I got a little bit too much there, no need to worry, because you can actually wipe it off before it has dried, of course, because when it has dried, it's going to be permanent. Let's see, I'm going to take that one aside. I could just take a piece of a towel or something just to dab that one off to make it a little bit more peeled paint looking. So look at this. This is a rather nice technique, I must say. So you could go on with more colors if you wanted to. You could just leave it to air dry, or you could just use your heat gun, I'm sure. So that's something. So in this case, I did go for, I think it was 2 colors. I went for, I think it was the robin's egg, and it was a light sort of green. And then I went in with some vintage photo and the gathered twigs and got this result before And then I added on with some red and such, just to try things out, even to get a nice result. And I have done some painting with those liquid pearls as well. So I thought that this was a really nice technique actually to have with me. So let's see how far I've come now. Well, that was one sort of a resist technique. Let's see if I can make it work with another. I haven't tried this one out yet, so I'm just fingers crossed. And perhaps I could use this as my palette then, instead of having a sort of a non-stick craft sheet. I don't have that here now, but I'm going to try this one out anyway. So let's see, I'm just going to squeeze out some Buttercup. It's a light color, and I'm just going to get it out there. And I'm thinking that I could actually perhaps go for some Cantaloupe. It's going to stay in the same sort of a light color scheme there. And what else could I go for? Let's go for some Petal Pink. And I'm just going to squeeze that one out there. And I'm going to put some water on top. And I'm thinking that I'll even try to mix them a little bit, so they are a little bit easier to work with. And I'm just going to get that one off there. And this is going to be a dry piece of paper now. I'm thinking of actually copying the Tim Holtz method with his distressing. So I'm just going to put it in there, dab it up, and just lift it just to see where I'm at right now. I could of course dry this in between and go back. So I'm thinking that this is sort of the same method that I did before with the plastic bag, but in this case you could have fun in a more controlled form perhaps. So before it has dried completely, I'm just going to pick up what I can here and there, just to have some fun. So this is another way of actually getting the leftover paint. So I could leave this one to air dry, and then I could go back and color it in with some distress ink, just like I did before. But I just wanted to get that method out there to you. So what's it all about? What could I show you more? Well, you could use those liquid pearls to color die cut pieces in. Let's say you have some letters or words or something, or perhaps you could have a butterfly like this. So let's see if I could go for another color here. Gold pearl, it says. Let's see, I haven't even used that one, I'm sure. It's going to be stuck there, isn't it? So I suppose that's bound to happen. So I'm just going to take a long needle here, and I'm going to put it in the nozzle or the opening there. I'm just going to go back and forth like that. And I hope I'll be able to squeeze something out of here now. Yeah, it's coming a little bit, but it's going to be a bit tough, it seems like. And just have to go back there again then, I suppose. And I'm going to try again. If not, I'm going to change colors, but now it seems to be out there. And since this one has such a nice nozzle, it's really easy to just follow those thin lines of that butterfly and put it there. So now you have it there. And let's say you were to be at a craft event or something, and you have lots of scrappy things with you, but you have forgotten your glue, or perhaps you've even forgotten your Versamark pad, and you do want to emboss something. Well, let's see if we can make it work. I know it can work. So in this case, I'm just going to take that, because this one could actually work as a glue. I'm just going to dab that one in a jar of clear embossing powder. You could of course go for another color if you wanted to. So this is another way of actually changing the color of this bit. Let's see if I can find my cutting board there. So I'm just going to heat set this. And as you can see, it's going to start bubbling, because it's a paint that is going to react with the heat. So So if you would like to, you could actually continue, let that bubble, and really create a sort of a rough and grungy texture. And this is something you should bear in mind. I'm not sure you'll be able to get a sort of a soft, nice, delicate finish to this. So you are going to have to go for this a bit rough and tough finish. But that's a nice way to go about it. I'm thinking that you could actually use it as a glue or perhaps even a Versamark ink pad. What more do I have on my list? And well, of course, you could even take even more of that paint, dilute it with water. Perhaps take your wooden box or something and just paint it, and you would get a really nice surface that's going to be shiny and nice. So, and I did show this spraying method to you before, since that is something that's on my mind of late when it comes to mixed media things and everything. So I'm just thinking that, let's say if I were to show this to you a bit more properly, I'm not sure if I can use that as a glue per se. It could perhaps work, I'm not sure, but let's see if I can make it work. And now I'm going really wide here because I'm trying out something that I haven't planned for. I'm just going to take a piece of paper here and just going to go for perhaps that blue one, because that isn't one of my favorite colors. So I'm just going to take that and try to make it work as a glue. Just for the fun of it. And I'm going to adhere it to this piece of paper here. Start on top. And I'm not sure about the drying time or anything like that. And I doubt it's going to stay there as a glue. No, it's not. So as a glue, it's not something you should go for. So instead I'm going to go for some proper glue. And now I might be in trouble because I have some paint here that the glue is going to work through. Let's see if I can make it work, if I had made myself look like a fool. You know, I could just shift it. Well, I could just try to put it in the same place, couldn't I? So I'm just going to glue this one down, and I'm going to add some pressure on it with a piece of paper so I don't smudge my fingers too much. Lift it up without it getting loose. Let's see, I'm going to take away the excess glue there. So let's say I were to have lots of papers and everything that I have glued down like this. And I would like to I would like to shade or make shadows to that around that paper. Then I could go for some perfect pearls. I'm thinking that could be nice. I'm going to go for some copper pearl, and I'm just going to put that on my palette here. Just take a little, because I know that this is going to go really a long way. And in this case, I'm just going to try to, let's make a difference, see what the difference is. If I'm going to put the paint directly on top there, versus have it diluted from the get-go, what will happen? I'm going to put it on that side. So let's see, if I'm going to spray some water on top of this, and that, and just start wiggling it, and just to see what happens. You can see that the diluted is easier to make into a pastel effect, whilst this one, it's going to get stuck more to the dryness, to the dry piece of paper there. But you could actually succeed going back and making it work. So that is something that I'm working on when it comes to using or making these sort of mixed media layouts that I've sort of fallen in love with making right now. So I'm just using these sort of colors. I mean, before I used regular acrylic paints, let's say I could go for something like this with a sort of a metallic shimmer to it, or I could go for some Inca gold and I just diluted it and then sprayed it and everything. So in my book, this is a really nice way to control the color where it's going to spread, because it's easier to control things with water than just have that sort of a spray color in that bottle, because spray goes all over the place really. So that is something that I like to do. And what else did I have planned? And well, let's see, this is something else that I haven't really prepared for, but I'm just going to give it a try. I did work on something before, didn't I? So this one, you see, I'm going to show something to you. I accidentally put that piece of paper on top of that I started working on before, and I did this one a couple of hours ago, so it hasn't dried. I'm not sure if I'm no, so this is really wet and everything, so I would definitely let that one sit until tomorrow, really. So this one's going to be destroyed anyway, so I have to see what I can do about that. Well, let's be clever. I could actually just scoop that one up. Let's see if I can make it work. It's sort of hardened, but it's still a bit wet in the center, of course. It's the furthest in. So I'm just using a spatula here just to get things moving. But you can get my drift anyway, I'm sure. So let's see if I can make this one work. I mean, it's a good thing now, I'm sure, when it comes to using the liquid pearls together with a stencil, because it's nice to have something that is a little bit thicker, so it isn't going to be that fluid. So just going to take a little bit of that and sort of try to press it through that stencil. And I do like that a lot, because now you can start building layer upon layer really. And let's see if I can put it a little bit there, lift it up. So now I have 2 layers, but if just to be on the really good side here, let's see if I can find those. Just going to clean this one up. And the stencil, of course, because that is going to be a hard nut to crack later, I'm sure. So I'm just going to use that paper underneath to scrape off the excess there, because then I can get this one for another project perhaps, if I'm lucky. Let's see. So I could actually go for the proper shape or form for this liquid. So I'm thinking what color could be nice, while I think I'm going to dry this one up. So I'm just thinking that, let's say you were to forget all about your texture paste and everything, but you accidentally had a stencil with you. Well, you could actually squirt out quite a bit of that and let it sit for, let's say, half an hour, and then use it for a texture paste feel. So that could be an idea actually. So let's see if I can use this juniper color. Just going to squirt it out like that, if it works. There it comes. And since this is rather a thick liquid thingy, pearly make, I'm going to use this spatula, because I'm thinking that it's going to be too difficult with a sort of a credit card or something. So this is an easy tool that I could use. And I'm sort of trying to find a proper place to put it. And in this case, I'm just going to go for the undiluted or unthickened form. It's what it is. And it works just the same, and it's a good thing to know that it doesn't get underneath the pattern, because that is something that I'm a little bit afraid of sometimes when it comes to using stencils together with sort of liquidy pastes and such, because they have a tendency to just move in underneath. And so there we are. There is some more texture to that one, and I do like the textured effect there, I must say. I'm going to put it over there, and I'm going to do some cleaning up here as well. because I don't want that stencil to be too dirty, and I'm sure I'll forget all about it in a minute or two. So let's see if I could take another piece of paper here. So this is also a nice way of actually making the colour or something from your stencil go a bit further, because now I get something that I could continue working on later. So that's there, and I do have something else I could show to you, because now I do have a little bit of colour left here, and I could actually dilute it, but I do really believe that I need something a little bit more. I'm going to go for the same juniper. Whoopsie. Perhaps a little bit more water, and then I'm going to work with it a little, and I'm going to paint it on top on this butterfly here. And the more reckless you are when you are painting it, the better result, I believe. So let's see. I'm going to take a piece of paper and just print it like that. So that one got really nice, I must say. In this case I had less colour left, so you can also do some stamping with it, so that's a nice technique. Let's see if I could just reactivate some of that with some water. Let's see if I can make something out of this. So now I get a really nice effect. That's what I was going for. So if I compare those two, you can see that's a really nice watery effect there. And of course you could continue using this. Let's see if I have something here. I do have that colour there. Well, I could take something else I've started to work on here, because here I have just painted that piece. And in this case there's a lot of colour going on at the same place. But I'm just going to dab it off like that. So I can, in this case, I can build layers into that piece of paper. So let's see, that's one going to go there. And what else could I do? Well, this is a nice technique. I did see somebody making a sort of a spaced out card with that technique. So basically you're going to take a black piece of paper, and you're going to take colour of your choosing, and you could dilute it a little bit if you want to. And she had a really nice technique splatting these things out. The one drawback of course with this is that you don't really know where the colour is going to end up. My focus is here, but it's ending up here. So that's something you should bear in mind. It's not easy to control where the splatting of things is going to end up. Let's see, I do need these in a second or two. So let's see if I can make it work like this then. So I'm going to use that paint just to create something. And in this case I did have a small cup, and I just learned that instead of running back and from to the kitchen, I could just spray some water in here and cleanse the brush. And of course I could use this to something else, but now I'm just going to move on. I'm just going to wipe it off with a piece of paper so I'm ready for the next one. So what kind of a colour would be nice to use next? I'm going to go for some, I have had that one a couple of times. Let's go for some pumpkin. It's going to be a long video this. Troopers you are. And I'm going to do a little bit of squirting there, and I'm going to hope for the best. Of course I could have dried this in between. Could have been a clever way to go about it. So let's do that now. And as you can see, the orange is sort of turning into brown when in contact with black. I'm not going to go through the complete process to make this, but I just wanted to give you a couple of other tips. Why not use Distress Spray Stain Picket Fence to create some whiteness to this? Let it just drip here and there. It's going to give a really nice contrast. Dry. And just one final touch, I'm going to use some Stardust Stickles, and I'm going to create a little puddle here, and I'm going to dilute that with some water. And I'm going to take this brush, I do have a little bit of ink color there, but I'm not going to be bothered about that. And I'm just going to splotch it out here and there. Hope for the best, really. And this one could be dried as well, and in this case I'll be ending up with a really nice sort of a shimmery result to that piece of paper. So there you can see them really nicely. So now I hope I've given you a few ideas of how to use liquid pearls, and I must say that it's a nice thing to bring with you to a craft event or something, so that's really why I started playing around with these. I hope you have a splendid time crafting, and I hope to see you before not too long. Bye bye.